are there any distinct advantages to using a converter or inkpot over cartridges? I think I prefer the ease of cartridges and how much cleaner the whole process is than filling from a pot. Okay, so distinct advantages over inkpot and cartridges. So the cartridges, you're getting convenience, you're getting transportability, and sometimes I hear like certain pens that the ink can flow a little better in a cartridge than a converter. However, I think that's pretty subjective. I think that really depends on what your experience is, you know, which pen you're talking about. But I've heard that is sometimes, especially with the Pilot, the Miki pens. The converter, the Con 50 converter, in the past has had some flow issues in the converter because the ink would kind of hang up in the back of the converter. That's not an issue with the cartridges. So some people would flip to the cartridges, or the ink capacity on the cartridges is a little bit more than those Con 50 converters. So some people would use the cartridges and just refill those as a way of getting more ink capacity for their Pilot pens. So totally legit way to go about it. However, it's more expensive. The color selection is not going to be great, especially if you're looking at it's not so bad if you've got a standard international. You know, if you've got Monteverde, Mont Blanc, Pelican, those all take standard internationals. Okay, so there's a lot of colors available for those because you can get them made by all those companies, but then also Private Reserve, J.R. Bond, Diamine, huge range of colors. They all make cartridges that fit standard international pens. So you've got a lot of options for those at least. However, you're missing some, like Diatramenis doesn't do cartridges, Noodler's doesn't do cartridges. So there's definitely some inks that you can't get cartridges. Or there's proprietary ones, you know, Pilot, Lamy, who else? Aurora, Parker, lots of pens. Lots of pens and actually most of the pens that I carry in my store just happen to have proprietary cartridges, and that kind of stinks. If you like a color that's in those cartridges, you can't use them in another brand's pen. But also, if you have a pen in that brand, you really can't get cartridges but for what that manufacturer offers. You know, for example, Lamy, you've got like 7 colors to choose from, you know, something like that. And so it's just not a big range of colors to choose from unless you go with a bottled ink. So that's the biggest advantage of bottled ink, is the range of colors and properties of inks that you can get to use in whatever pen you want. It's also much more economical per milliliter. So if you're using pens a lot, you'll go through a lot of cartridges and you're just going to be spending a lot of money. You're paying a premium to get that ink in cartridge form than you would in a bottle. Maybe you're okay with that, and that's totally cool. And then the bottled ink is also going to store longer. So the problem with cartridges is they're plastic, and eventually the air is going to kind of get leached into that plastic, and the water is going to evaporate out of it, and your ink level is going to start to disappear in those cartridges. It may take a couple of years, and you know, but if it goes to a retailer and the retailer is not moving them very quickly, and the ink is sitting there, you know, it might be sitting at the manufacturer for a little bit. It might be sitting at the distributor for a while. It might be sitting at the retailer for a while. And then you might buy it and it might sit around in your place for a while. So it might be a couple of years already by the time you are getting around to using your cartridges if you're buying them and kind of storing them for a while. And then you may notice that the ink level in your cartridge is kind of going down a little bit. That typically is not going to happen with a bottle as long as you keep it sealed properly. However, if it does happen in your cartridges, you can reconstitute it. Just because the water's leached out a little bit, the dye is going to stay in there. So you can puncture the cartridge, you know, syringe in a little bit of distilled water, shake it up, and you've got fresh ink again. But that does kind of kill the convenience aspect of the cartridge. So I'm just saying. I'm a big fan of bottled ink, personally. I don't find the messiness to be that much of a problem. But then again, I have ink on my fingers most of the time, so I just kind of embrace that as a lifestyle.